Hello everyone. Last weekend was the Agatsu Kettlebell Sport competition in Toronto, the regionals. So my right wrist is still not quite there yet, so to speak, and I still decided to compete one-handed with the one-arm long cycle. And I already put up a video of my entire set there. But for those of you who actually watch the entire set, first off, good job. It's not the most spectator-friendly sport, I'll admit. But you might have noticed something that happened while I was lifting. A little bit of a wardrobe malfunction. So what I'll do right now is go through the entire set and you can see where that wardrobe malfunction happened and ways that we can make sure that doesn't happen to you. So let's dive in. So I'm not sure if you're able to see right there, but right in my hand here, that's where the issue is starting to arise. So I had preemptively, I can never pronounce words, just wrapped up my wrist just to kind of give it a little bit of extra support, because overall the last couple of months I haven't done a heck of a lot of kettlebell sports stuff, and that week prior I was doing a little bit more than the 32s, and my wrist was just not pain, but I can just kind of feel that it was getting a little bit beat up. So before this set I thought, it might just be prudent to just give it a little bit of extra support. And that's what I did. What's happening progressively in this set, and what I'm noting too while I was lifting, is that little bit of tape is coming off ever so much. Every rep, it just comes off a little bit more and a little bit more. Now it's going to get to a point where it's just so much flipping off that as it's landing on my forearm, it's actually pulling on the tape in a certain way that's pulling down my arm hair, and it's quite uncomfortable. So what I was doing during this set as well is waiting for it to unravel just enough so that I'm able to better reach it. So right here, what I'm asking, so Dave, the head judge at the competition, was kind of in front of me at this point and maybe saw what was going on. So I'm asking him there, can I take it off? Can I tear it off? Because in the sport, one of the rules is you can't really touch the uninvolved hand to the kettlebell hand. But in this case, I'm not actually touching the kettlebell. I just wanted to kind of tear the tape off. So this part right here. So tore it off, and I thought everything was going to be hunky-dory. Now, as this set progressed, it just still started to slowly unravel even more so. So here I'm just trying to literally yank it away from between my arm and the kettlebell, and I have a hairy arm, so it's not the most pleasant feeling, which explains my face there. So it wasn't going, so I decided to go mid-jerk, just still hold on to it. So when I had a little bit of that momentary where the bell is not quite placed around my forearm, I decided to lift in a way that kind of flung the kettlebell a little bit away from my arm so that I'll be able to create room so I can just take the tape off. And the rest of the set went pretty hunky-dory. So why did this even happen in the first place? So the tape that I was using was just good old-fashioned athletic tape. Now normally this shouldn't really be wearing off that quickly, and it should still stay fairly snug. Now granted, after some heavy use, the tape will naturally start to loosen up a little bit. So if I'm using this, if I'm working with soccer players and they want to tape up an ankle, we'll put this on, but knowing that it'll be a little snug at the start, but after they warm up and play a little bit, it'll loosen up ever so slightly. Now, the problem with my tape was years ago when I first, got more into working on the sidelines, I bought my tape in bulk, which is, what you should do. So working, lots of sports where you tape more fairly often anyway, so lots of hockey and things like that, taekwondo. But just with the way my career's been going, some of the sports I've been working a little bit more with lately just doesn't require a heck of a lot of tape. So I still have a bunch of tape that, year after year, it's starting to get a little bit old. So the adhesive on my tape is just not quite what it used to be. Yeah, so when I taped it down, the end, I'll just show you here on this side. So basically, if I just, do a couple of wraps around here, the end of it here was starting to start to slowly fray off. And especially with kettlebell sport, if I'm just touching my thigh in a certain way, or depending where the end of the tape is, it'll just kind of catch the end, and every so slightly it'll just kind of keep going to unravel. Bit of a rookie mistake on my part, because I just trusted my old tape and I didn't really quite realize it was too old until it was too late. Now, in retrospect, there are a couple of things I could have done in order to keep the tape snug on there, and I'm going to go over some of those options with you right now. There's a product out here called Ultralight. So this is more of an adhesive bandage that you can use to mainly use to kind of wrap around limbs, or if you're just kind of in a quake, you just put gauze down this on top and it just sticks down on there. Now, with this, what I could have done was still tape my wrist as normal with the old tape, but then take this stuff and just wrap it around my wrist. So all it would do would be to help just anchor the tape down so that it doesn't unravel, because this stuff is quite sticky, and it would do the job quite well. Another option that you could do as well is something called with Powerflex. So this is another, probably essentially the non-adhesive version of this, so to speak, but it sticks very well onto itself. So by just putting it around my wrist, perfect. So it'll just keep the ends of the tape from fraying off, and it would hold on very nice and strong. Now, there's one more option that I want to talk about first. So instead, if you don't want to use any of this old tape, there are a couple of other options. So the other option is called Leukotape. Now, Leukotape is a different type of tape. I already have it pre-cut for something else anyways. So Leukotape is a lot stronger than your traditional athletic tape. It's not nearly as stretchy. So this doesn't stretch at all, but this really does not stretch. So it's very, very tough, and it has a lot of adhesive. So one of the reasons why this is a good type of tape for, let's say, climbers, put around the fingers so it'll stay put, and it's just very strong tape. Now, the thing with this as well, because the adhesive is so good, you can definitely tape this around your wrist and it'll stay on there. It'll stay put for sure, because the adhesive is quite good. Now, that comes with a big if. The adhesive itself is actually a little bit harsh. It can be a little bit harsh, I should say. So if you already have some sensitive skin, it's possible to get slightly irritated from the adhesive from this if you put it directly on the skin. Not everybody experiences that, but it's possible. The other thing you have to worry about is what makes it so good also makes it kind of not so good, and it's because the adhesive is just really good with this. So if you stick it directly on your skin, it'll stay put on your skin, but when it comes time to take it off, it won't be quite as comfortable. Especially on my forearm, where I have a little bit of hair on the back here. I wouldn't have hair much longer if I were to use this, because it will just go straight off. So if you really want to use this type of tape, I would recommend using this in conjunction. This is called Hyperfix. What it is a adhesive non-woven fabric. Now, similar to the other tape there, this tape can be used as a dressing to be applied onto the skin to help just cover bandages and things like that to keep things put. But in my field, what we often do is combine using the Hyperfix with Leukotape. So when we're taping a joint or a certain area, we might lay this down on the skin first, and then this tape on top of it, so that we still get the strong adhesive power of this, but we're protecting our skin at the same time. So I'll show you an example of this on my wrist. Just measure out briefly how much you need. Get a good pair of scissors. A lot of times this tape, it'll be easy for you to take off the ends. You want to apply it the same place where you would be applying the tape. So kind of find that wrist crease, and you want the middle of the tape to kind of be right around that spot. So there. This one, you do not apply a stretch to it. It's not necessary. Okay. Not the greatest job, but you get the idea. Okay, so even just this actually provides a pretty good support, but if you want that little extra oomph, then you would use this tape as well. You can kind of see how I already had it pre-cut, so when I'm taping fingers, I'll just actually use this little bit here. So I'll just show you an example with this little part here. So you get enough tape that you need. Find that spot where you need to put it. Give yourself a little bit of a fist while you're doing this as well, and wrap around. Okay, so that provides a heck of a lot of support, and I feel comfortable knowing that I have the Hyperfix there to protect my skin when I need to take this tape off. Now, some basic precautions when you're doing this. One, make sure you're always seeing somebody. If you have wrist pain, make sure you're seeing a healthcare professional to make sure that this is an appropriate tape job for what you have. So that's number one if you're already experiencing pain. If you want to use it because you may have had previous wrist sprains in the past and you really just don't want to have to deal with that in the future, you can use it in a more preventative manner if you so choose to. But regardless, when you are applying tape around your hand, you want to make sure that you're not taping too tightly so that you're actually compressing the blood vessels right here in your wrist and it's causing, malcirculation in your hand. One of the ways that you can help prevent that to make sure that that's not the case is, like I mentioned earlier, give yourself a fist. So by making a tight fist, you're already squeezing the muscles in your forearm, so it'll make the tendons tense up a little bit, which will slightly increase the circumference of your wrist here. So when you're applying the tape, you're starting off with a relatively higher circumference, so when you relax, it'll be a little bit more comfortable. The other thing you can check as well to make sure that the blood flow is not being impeded is a capillary refill test. So that's when you can just compare the nail beds of either hand. So you can just squeeze both thumbs at the same time and just watch your thumbnail to make sure to see when the blood comes back. Look at my nail beds, so that's how they are normally. I'm just squeezing it, just noting to see how long it takes for them both to refill. And ideally you want them both to refill at the same time. Now obviously if you have painted fingernails you can't see, you can do a very similar thing but just looking at the thumb itself. So just squeeze the thumb, just look at how fast it takes for the blood to come back into your thumbs. They should be identical. Well, there you have it, folks. Hopefully you can learn from my rookie mistake and you now have some alternatives at your disposal if you so need it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Please like and share this video and subscribe to my channel. That's a lot of asks, I know, but I really do appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. Okay.